Welcome to Experience Matters, a new podcast from iCrossing, where we really get under the skin of what makes transformative customer experiences. We'll be doing a series of these where we'll cover everything from sonic branding to, of course, the world of AI. And today, to kick off this series of podcasts, I'm joined by two colleagues and friends at iCrossing, Pauline and Sean. Pauline?
Hi, yes, I'm Pauline. I head up the Cloud Solutions team here at iCrossing.
Hey, I'm Sean. I'm the Global Program Manager here at iCrossing. I've been at iCrossing 14 years.
Wow. Thank you very much for giving up some of your time from your very busy schedule. And today we're going to introduce the world of Experience Matters and learn from our own experiences at iCrossing and the clients we work with. Why does the experience matter? So on the subject of Experience Matters, and from my own past experience of defining experiences, it's not only the experience that they're actually having, but the memory they have of that experience. We often talk about things, the peak end rule, making sure they always end on a positive note. And I think once we've understood kind of the maturity of the organisation and really help them develop brilliant experiences, it's how we take it beyond that. And something I'm always very passionate about is when we design the experience, not just considering the actual experience they're having, but the memory they then have of that interaction. And obviously, let's think wider beyond just iCrossing. I know we work across a breadth of clients across different sectors and worldwide. But can you name an experience that you think is really nailing it from a customer experience point of view?
I think there are many brands. It probably varies, but
I think the general ones are, say, Apple, Amazon, Netflix. The one that really gets personalised recommendations to a T and keep you on the hook, whether it's product based or not, and that generally drives loyalty that way and a memorable experience. I think that continuously goes with the loop.
Yeah, another brand that probably strikes me is IKEA, which, from a physical experience to a digital experience, obviously not always a nearby shop that you can just pop into. I think the shopping experience is obviously built in such a way that it will get you to buy what you have not planned to buy.
And I think the experiences we're talking about now are generally AI dominated, AR dominated, and that's kind of where you see that traction go with the industry right now.
That's brilliant. That's a really important point, Sean. And just before we move on, Pauline mentioned the brand that I've kind of fallen in love with over the years, IKEA, and how they really have nailed customer experience. There's even a behavioural principle called the IKEA effect, which is because you buy it all flat packed and you go home and you actually create it yourself. You go through those crazy instructions that have no words, actually built something. You're actually so much more proud of that thing that you've built that it increases its value. Yeah. And to something, I think they take that thinking actually through to their store experience and the way navigate you around it. And it'd be interesting to see how much of that was in their digital properties.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then Sean, you went on then to talk about loyalty and how important that is in the increasing world that AI plays. And I think the interesting point around loyalty is how you take it beyond just transactional. Yeah. Let's go beyond just loyalty points and actually think about how an experience can be more meaningful. And I was talking to a brand recently and they like to use the word belonging. They feel that belonging is a real way for their customers to feel associated and part of their brand, but all so key to ensuring that when we then at iCrossing create those digital experiences, that they really do matter.
Yeah, I think loyalty pretty much predominantly comes from that brand experience as well. It's the tie between brand experience and the customer experience that they're having with those interactions with the company. It's a combination of both. You can't concentrate on one, hammer your brand out there and not have the interactions correctly, and vice versa. You can't do that. That's generally where loyalty comes from, and you have to have a differentiating aspect of that to make you think why I should be loyal to this brand. And like you mentioned, I know the brand you're talking about with belonging, that's a differentiator in the market and makes you feel like you're part of that company and you're part of that growth.
And I know we'll talk about it in future podcasts, but obviously this is so much reliant on the data that we know about those audiences. And you've mentioned AI already, and how if you've got a wealth of data, how you can be smarter about how you use that to create more personalised and recognisable experiences.
Yeah, I think just even on the AI point, you have companies out there that now that focus on AI and just really goes to bottom line efficiencies, and they're not really tracking those experiences back through to the customer. And I think those companies will do quite well in the next year or two because they're focusing on bottom line, the shareholders will be happy, but the experiences are not filtering through to the customer. So they're going to be knocking on the door to say, it's great you're making efficiencies and profit. Why am I not seeing my costs go down, or why am I not seeing my experiences get better? So that's where the differentiators are in the market of people who use AI to directly go to the better customer experience, because that's what creates loyalty. That's going to create long-term growth, not just the short-term bottom line feeding aspects of it, which I think some companies do fall in that trap right now.
Absolutely, and this is actually conversations we are having with some partners where there is that element of you want to create efficiencies, less is more, but critically, actually, do you impact just the bottom line versus the whole experience? You're probably not doing both, so this is still something that we need to work on for sure.
Super interested, and I'm sure people listening are being inspired and thinking about their customer experience, thinking about the experience gap, thinking about the efficiencies. So Pauline, where do they start? Do they literally pick up the phone in the old days and call iCrossing, or is there other ways in which they can make that first step in making an experience that really does matter?
It varies. I think people or clients often tend to jump to solutions quite quickly, or want you to tell you what we're going to do about this. We pivot the conversation slightly, because if you say you want to buy this service, etc., this might not be the appropriate solution to actually solve the original problem. So I think this is where we try to understand further, what are the pain points that you're actually facing, how are you set up within the organizations, who is also, holding the budgets and the investments, because that helps a lot in understanding who are the key decision makers and actually who are the potential blockers to potentially overcome a challenge. So, and I think beyond that is, critically understanding business goals. It sounds obvious, but ultimately, by understanding that, we're in a stronger position to then arm and develop the solutions appropriately, which might not be the original conversation that we would have had of we want to buy or activate X, Y, and Z services with you guys, and actually would say, actually, you probably have that, but also we need to review X, Y, and Z as well. So I hope that answers your point.
It's such an important point, and you mentioned then around business, and to Sean's earlier point around data, not just about understanding who the audience is, but the value that this experience and investing in it kind of brings down to the business.
Absolutely, yeah. The investment, the ROI remains the number one number that people at the very top of an organization will look at. So it's critical for us to be equipping the people that we work with and the key stakeholders with the right, numbers, business cases, and we're here to shape that as well, to have them fund maybe a specific project, or again, give them the right tools so they can have the relevant conversations internally, or we can be there, obviously, as and when it's needed.
I think we generally, are saying this, we meet clients where they are, and that's definitely true. Whether they're weighing up internal tools right now, they've implemented a tool and they're not getting the most use out of it, or they're looking at the data and can see it be really disconnected, we can come in at any sort of touch point, get it back to the experiences you're trying to unlock, and make sure that they're enhanced, even pre and post implementation of a tool. We generally do come along that cycle, and even if we're playing one channel route of maybe SEO, we're coming with that mindset and sitting at that table and directing them in terms of like where the data should be held, how it should be cleansed, how we should be leveraging other tools in the systems that are part of their brands. We generally do come along any of that timeline in the digital experience to play that role.
And this is so important at iCrossing, where we're almost extending beyond just defining the experience, and why we're really focused now on business solutions and transformation strategy. And I know for the recent projects that I've worked with our clients, it's not just about creating that experience, but how they need to change as an organisation. Not just going back to Pauline's earlier point around employee experience, but actually their operation, how we as experts need to go in and give them confidence that to create that brilliant experience, that experience that does matter, they need to change themselves. And literally half my role is about being a business consultant as much as it is about defining what that end experience needs to be.
Yeah, and I see you doing that on clients every single day, and change management is definitely the top focus for us. Whenever you're trying to unlock experiences, change management, it has to happen, and it has to scale the right way too, and it has to be the right fitment for that brand. There is no one size fits all in change management. links back to Pauline's point on maturity earlier. You could have the biggest brands in the world with the most revenue and the most staff. It doesn't mean that they're mature in like the technology space or the marketing space.
Brilliant. It's really interesting. Thank you both. I've really enjoyed listening, talking about our work that we do day in, out. But it's just nice, isn't it, to take this step out, really focus on that idea of experience matters. I don't know if either of you had any thoughts. Pauline?
I think it's, I think you've said it, Sean, earlier, but there is perhaps a lot of pressure around how you need to leverage AI, how you should be, what people are doing in that space, and people maybe wanting to rapidly do something about it. I think sometimes it goes back to, where are you in your journey? What are you looking to achieve?
Exactly.
Is it the right, are you taking the right steps to get there? What people next doors are doing is probably, or your competitors are doing, is probably not the right thing to do from your perspective. So
that's a really good point, isn't it? It's not to compare yourself to competitors, because that is so often the case. You do this big benchmarking exercise, but technology, AI, data, enables us to always really truly create something that's unique and reflected of that brand when it comes to experience.
Yeah, I think that's the stressing point. It's we see clients at the fear of missing out stage of seeing everything come out in the industry, whether it's AI or the technology that they don't have or what their competitors are doing, but generally when you get down to it and the experiences they want to try and lock, it's not really relevant to that, and that's generally where we would come in and look at their data and look at their team structure and see what's relevant or not. But we're very approachable.
So really interesting conversation around experience and why it matters. Sean, you've already touched on the world of AI. It is going to make a massive difference. There's no question about it. We've been hosting these roundtables at iCrossing where we've had industry experts and people from across different sectors talking about it. And I'm outstanded by how much it's moved from when we did them at the start of this year to a few weeks ago, how now AI just seems to be integral in everyday life. What are your own thoughts when it comes to creating experiences and the impact it will have?
Generally leveraging AI, I think it's not going to make a difference. It does make a difference right now, and I think everyone has their own perception of how they want to use AI. And I mentioned about it, someone a company can leverage AI to focus on bottom line, or you can leverage AI and focus on bottom line and better experiences, and that's tend to be the ones that are the real winners in this market and the ones that are going to progressively go forward with that mindset.
Yeah, amazing. And Pauline, from yourself and the conversations you're having with your clients, I know there's often a lot of restrictions still around using AI, but are you seeing it making
legal compliance is the biggest blocker. So how do you leverage AI within the organization and move forward is the challenge. I think the pivot or the other angle that we explore is how AI is also used as a co-pilot tool, and how it helps you actually in your day-to-day job as well. So these are other nuances that we start capturing with clients as well, where it's not only how you implement AI technologies within systems and existing process flows or whatever that might look like, but also what does that mean as an individual, and how you can leverage AI to help you speed up your day-to-day or gather some information a lot more quicker.
I think stick to what you know and focus on your AI elements. That's on that part, like similar to what we've done at iCrossing by X Universal. We built tools around connected marketing and technology and showcasing that data to clients and making sure they're seeing the efficiencies, because that's what we understand as a business. We're not going out there to build other AI tools that we don't know about. It's what we as experts can leverage with AI that creates that better experience.
And really important point you there made, Sean, is using AI as a tool, not as a creator or a driver, or but using it to create more efficiencies, as Pauline said. Often when it comes to research, so much more effective now when we can use AI or generative AI to actually then understand what the research is telling us, and seeing less and less now of biases within the AI. It's super fascinating and something very much enjoyable, really, in the way we work at iCrossing. So guys, with the clients that we are working with, do you want to talk a little bit more about the challenges that we're helping them solve? Obviously, don't give their names away, but it'd be interesting to see why experience really does matter for them. Pauline?
Yeah, I think there are so many challenges that we might be facing with our clients, so they might come with a variety of challenges. There is a lot of conversations where there is this goal of improving the journey for our customers, or delivering a more luxurious experience for customers. And how do you get that? How do you attract a new younger audiences potentially? So there's loads around the audiences and trying to pivot as a brand, but ultimately, how do you get there, and how do you? What are the steps that we should be building out, or the building block that we should be developing for our clients? This is where we are here to kind of like shape that as well.
And even what you just said there is interesting within itself, talking about how you create a kind of more premiumized brand. You know, in the past, good UX was just about making it intuitive, but now, as you're saying, it's really focusing on the audience and that particular audience that a brand wants to be relevant to. You know, whether it's a younger audience, and therefore how does it change versus, as you were saying, the premium piece. Really, really interesting.
Yeah, that's it. And also it's often from a client perspective is how do you pivot the brand perception as well.
Exactly.
And how do you do that? And there's so much around trying to activate and jump straight to the solutions or the channels that needs to play a role within that. But I think our role is also to step and look at the bigger picture as well and understand those pain points within the business first, why the goals, and how do we deploy the right solutions as a result.
And that's brilliant. And again, brand, you know, how important the brand is to create that differentiation with an interactive experience. And, you know, really a brand should be able to say why they're different, even though they're doing exactly the same process or buying the same product online. Fascinating stuff. Sean, I know you take on a global role, so your role goes beyond just EMEA.
Yep.
So how does that impact the kind of customer experiences that we're creating at iCrossing?
I think customer experiences from that standpoint, you have cultural differences as well. So most of our big clients have global presence, so understanding what works in EMEA might not work in the US as well. And that, to Pauline's point, comes across brand, it comes across customer experience, also employee experience as well. So when we start looking at internal tools and internal efficiencies, it's that experience we try and gain that has a knock-on effect to the end goal of the customer experience or the end goal of the brand experience, because they're working more efficiently on the ground. But I think us as a global partner, understanding the differences for that, just to make sure that we're securing that element of it.
Definitely, and it goes so much beyond now just kind of being able to translate it into native languages, you know, to your point, those cultural differences. And when you can build everything together that you were both saying there, so you've got the particular audience, the brand that we're looking at, the cultural differences, and that's really is, you know, why this podcast, this name Experience Matters, is making sure you do get it right, because there's nothing worse, as we all know, from a customer experience when people start interacting, having a bad experience, and how that then impacts the brand forevermore and the perception people have of that particular product. So I think a big challenge we have, as we were just saying then, the complexities of getting a brand experience of right is where it's owned within an organisation. You know, we've gone beyond just doing websites and talking to the marketing person. From your own experience, what level of conversations are you having, Sean?
I mean, I think the whole scalability of the industry has changed massively, and it's not strictly CMOs we're talking to now, and it's almost like the CMOs have hybrided into a role of CTOs, and they've almost become that hybrid person within their company. And I think I read a stat a couple of weeks ago, around 75% of CMOs actually do control their technology budget now as well. So you are having multi-diverse conversations with one person versus having to have 4 or 5 in the room, CIO and CXOs, those kind of people. You can generally open up conversations that way. And I think it happens 2 ways. You know, a client can come to us with experience needs and experience gaps that they've got, but the way that we're scaled internally and the way we're skilled internally, we're very much T-shaped. So we explore opportunities with our current brands too, on the brand guidelines and the brand experiences that they want to achieve today. So it's both ways, and conversations are generally open.
And a couple of points you made there, especially around the CMO being the person that owns the technology budget. And I think that's a monumental shift really in how we start creating effective experiences. Because I do remember certainly at the start of the 2000s, there was this big separation between the IT teams and the marketing teams. And it sounds like they're coming together. And I noticed...
I think they tried to come together with just defining it as like a MarTech stack, but in reality on the ground it was 2 different silos, 2 different departments still pulling in different directions. So I think they combined a name, but it wasn't really resonating on the ground. So I think that's where it's made a shift there too.
And that's really interesting, actually, the point you just made then around MarTech and how that becomes such a common term, bringing marketing and technology together. And maybe you're right, it's the world of Adobe that's kind of a lead in that connection. And you also then talked about experience gaps, which we know is so important at iCrossing, and how we really help our clients understand the importance of experience matters and being able to scale those experience gaps. Pauline, any thoughts to add on to kind of the conversations we're having with and the type of people we're talking to?
Yeah, definitely what Sean was saying. I think it then depends of the setup of the business as well, and how far they are in their digital maturity as well, and or their journey overall. So you will have still the probably typical, or like, you know, setup where you might work with a head of digital marketing or head of IT, etc. But yeah, you still have now more conversations with multiple stakeholders that actually are understanding that there is more focus needed beyond just activating your marketing plans, and actually looking at the technology and the efficiency that you could be creating to deliver that better experience for sure.
And I love your point then around digital maturity. And what I find quite interesting is not necessarily the size of the organisation that reflects that digital maturity.
No, absolutely no. I think you have brands that can perform very well and be very nimble and digitally very, very strong, and you will have much bigger global organizations that actually are falling a little bit behind. So yeah, this is where bringing the right people, challenging the people as well within the organization, and to your point, the employees' experience plays a big role. The skill set that you have within the business. You have a lot of generalists, a lot still from a marketing perspective, and a lot of organizations are saying that actually we need to dial up, you know, the expertise and equipping the people in the right way. So there's a lot more autonomy within, you know, the business, and you can accelerate further how you deliver the experience internally and externally as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that internal point is just so important. I think, again, when we started creating experiences for brands, it was always about that outward appearance and creating that experience vision to encapsulate the brand. But of course, the employees need to be behind it. You know, they are the ambassadors of the brand. They do shape the customer experience, even if it's a very internal function. And you're absolutely right to pull that out as being key to experience matters. Thank you both, Pauline and Sean. I really enjoyed that. Certainly we've teed up the world of experience matters, and there'll be a lot more future episodes coming your way soon. We're going to touch everywhere from the world of AI, of course. It's a big subject. We've already talked about it today, but also more interesting creative areas such as sonic branding, and maybe even go out of our comfort zone, talk maybe to the world of medicine and see how that is impacting in the world of experiences.